Hey, what's going on, everyone? Syndicate Boogie here. Konnichiwa, Boogie des. Welcome to my channel. We've got another Express transmission for you guys today. We are going to be looking at an interview that was posted on January 23rd, so a few days ago, and it was on Forbes.com, presumably Forbes magazine, and this was with Simon. They talk about his intentions and his aim to bring XG over to North America. Since the debut of the core last Friday, there have been a few pieces of content that have been released, a couple interviews with Simon, and also XG themselves have been making their rounds with new content that's been posted. I'm gonna take my time and work through the content. I may react to the Zach Sang show in the full episode in one whole video, so look out for that. Otherwise, for the interview form content, I'm probably going to read ahead of time and try to pull the points that really stuck out to me. So that's what we're going to do with today's interview. So as I mentioned before, the intentions of Simon, now that we're in 2026, is to bring XG and XGALX and XPop over to North America. So I'm going to go ahead and read some selected excerpts from the interview and then give my thoughts and feelings on that. So first, he starts off this interview talking about leadership and philosophy, and what he says here is XGALX is more than just a production company that trains groups and pushes artists in the world. It goes much further beyond the commercial success of individual artists. There has to be a long-term plan for how that fits into their identities and their journey. Jacobs doesn't believe in being bound by any existing form or system. It's why XGALX values individuality and unique worldviews, breaking through various traditional norms, fixed ideas, and barriers. It's also another reason XG looks and feels so different than other musical acts. The septet comprised of members Jurin, Chisa, Hinata, Harvey, Juria, Maya, and Cocona all each has their own style and freedom to express themselves. It's why their new album is called The Core, with its meaning representing their core or nucleus, internal beliefs, essence, values, and identities, especially in their music. So we've heard a lot of that in some form leading up to the release of The Core from other interviews, but every time I read it, it actually comforts me to know that Simon is looking out for their well-being way more than just their time as an artist. He's looking out for them as individuals, as human beings. He's looking at their character, he's looking at their development, and he's using his wisdom and experience to guide them and equip them with the tools that they need and the confidence that they need to face all the upcoming challenges ahead as they grow into their 20s and beyond. So I really like that philosophy. I think in any avenue where someone is achieving a dream, it's important to have a mentor that not only looks out for your skill and talent, but also your development as you continue to grow. As you continue to develop as an artist, obviously you're going to gain a sense of confidence, you're going to gain a sense of pride, and there are a lot of other intangibles that you gain along the way. But it's important for someone that's on the outside looking in, or someone raising you, to really nurture those things and make sure that you understand them, because a lot of people, they don't have mentors or you know role models to look up to in that way, and that have an open bridge of communication to really talk about things. He has developed that with the XG members, and I'm certain that it's a shared experience that goes both ways. Although he's mentoring them through his experience, he's also learning from them as well. And I don't think it's just between Simon and XG, but also long-standing members of the XGALX team. I'd assume, definitely Chancellor. because Simon and Chancellor are longtime friends, and also probably other members of their team, from their cameramen to their stylists to people behind the scenes that we don't even know about. This is a team effort. It takes a village, and that village should be and is definitely equipped with wisdom, with experience, with care, and heart. So, that already, just starting things off and letting them know that we're not just a company, we are not just producing music, we are fostering an environment where people can grow to be their authentic self and to grow to be the best that they can be at what they want to do. With XGALX, that could be anything. I mean, at their core, and what we know them as first and foremost, is musical artists, but as they branch out into solo activities, they're going to be expressing themselves and putting work out there in different avenues. I mean, we're already seeing it with Jurin, with her various collabs. They all have their own sense of fashion and style. And Juria, just at the Dior event, I'm pretty certain that all of the other members are going to have those kind of opportunities down the road. So I think that it's important to, foster those types of characters, uh, character growth within a company, and it's definitely an example to follow. So hopefully, there are a lot of people that are reading this interview and have read his philosophies from other interviews and are learning from that. So beyond that interview, he then goes on to talk about XPop and the core. So what he says here is, this journey that we've gone on with XPop is really a declaration of what that means. It's going to have huge diversity of genres and show a new side to XG that people haven't seen before. But what's most important is what's at the core, the message and the frequency that we have, and sending that out into the universe. It's a very diverse set of pop music that I think will be very relatable and resonate universally with the audience. Jacobs is confident in XG and their new album, declaring that it will, in a major way, mark some change, and they won't have any regrets, he says. I think that what we've put together and assembled here feels really complete in the way that nothing was left on the table. So let's take a look at that. In my experience as an alpha, I have had challenges in the very beginning with people who listen to XG initially and look at XG initially and immediately consider them K-pop. Why? Because they look at the members, they look at the visual, just the visual alone, they already assume that they're K-pop. But then, as they're listening to the music, I have to ask them, does this sound like the normal K-pop sound? And more often than not, they'll be like, not necessarily. I was like, this is something that you would probably hear in the West, right? If you didn't see this and you listen to this on the radio, you could probably think that this was a song that was released for Western audiences, and more often than not, they would say yes, indeed. And I think, honestly, breaking out of that boundary has been one of the biggest things that they've been fighting to do since their debut. As we all know, Simon brought them up within the idol system initially, but then he added his own sensibilities, his own philosophy, and now that they've debuted as a group that has visuals that are out of this world, themes that are out of this world, style that is radical from the norm, artists that can do it all, and musical content that can reach a global audience, being all in English. It's a unique mix, and he says it outright. XPop is this huge diversity of genres that people haven't seen before blended together. So let's look at the core. Looking at the core right now, you see some elements from music that they've previously released. Of course, the hip hop and R&B is there. You see rock, you see slow ballads. You see power anthems, which I call Orb, or what they call Orb. And then we see, what else is there? Dance, and different types of dance too. I think that Hypnotize is uniquely has this house flavor, and Gala, I don't know the words, but Gala definitely has a certain type of sound, and it they do have a connection there, um, in instrumental wise. But then we also have Take My Breath Away, and Take My Breath Away has more of like a disco vibe. I would say that there's certain vibes with the, especially the bass line in there. It kind of reminds me of New Dance in a way. So you can see the genres that XG is covering in their album, and you could see the diversity there. They can sing, they can rap, they can shout, they can whisper. Wow, I didn't even think about that. I just said that, and it's true. Um, they're showing their diversity, they're showing their range there, and XPop is a complete set of all these things done well and done in a way where it doesn't feel like they have to be confined to any one part of that collection. So I think XPop is going to continue to be this curated sound where you have this right now. This is the current evolution of XPop at the core. And then as they develop, as they grow, you're just going to steadily see that their catalog of genres is going to be increased. We look at the core specifically and what that is a snapshot of. Obviously, they talk about their evolution, but we talk about it showing what's on the inside and obviously their growth. Okay, the growth is definitely there in the lyrics and the visuals, and to some degree the choreography for Hypnotize, and I'm kind of nervous for future choreography because it's just uh, you just come to that realization like, wow, they're grown, they're getting grown now, and you know in the lyrical content they're talking about more mature themes of romance, themes of love, themes of heartbreak, and they have next level confidence now. I mean, up now, that's really the first time they talk about they used to show their strength as in their within their character, but Up Now is really the first song that I heard them really talk about enjoying life to the degree that they are. Like, vacations or fashion, having fun, that next level. They're up, right? So this is really showing them at this stage and at this age, and they are this is only one. This is only one level of growth. We haven't seen yet. I feel like we still haven't seen their prime yet, personally. We've seen them mature now, but now it's about what they take with that maturity, they take with that experience, and evolve even further. I think their prime is yet to come, personally. So yeah, I think we're here now. There's a lot to dissect from the album, and now we should, especially if you've been a long time alpha, we should definitely have a true understanding of what Xpop means. We all know that XG is not going to be confined to any standard or any philosophy. They set their own bar, they walk their own path. So I think it's more about how you communicate that to people in the most relatable, understandable way, and how you command respect for it. Um, they've done that. They've done that with their consistency, with their commitment, with their love and transparency. So all of that lends to their credibility. So they can only go forward from here, and I'm very curious to see now how things play out. We still have a lot to unpack from the core. Just because we have the album, there's still things that we haven't seen from the music videos to how they perform it live and how they plan to share that with the world. But it feels like we just got here. We kind of just did because the core came out on Monday, but really, this is like them pulling the curtain back, opening the gate, and saying, "This is us. Hello, we've been working on this." And what I'm most curious to see is how they share that with the world moving forward. With that growth and with that maturity, Simon acknowledges one member specifically in this interview, and that's Cocona. Cocona, as we all know, he transitioned, and now, on top of that, the group has evolved to change their name to Extraordinary Genes. So, in the interview, Simon talks about that experience and how meaningful it was to the group. So, from the interview, this group has always made significant and historic changes in the music industry. Even before the album's release, XG's youngest member, Cocona, came out as AFAB transmasculine non-binary last month, becoming the first artist in the Asian pop industry to do so. Jacobs openly expressed his support for them on social media. He shares that he's known Cocona since their trainee days when they were in grade school. He's watched them grow up and figure out who they are. He's proud of them, revealing we all, as a group, share that love of watching everyone grow up. Now that they're 20 years old, there's this huge journey where they're searching for their own identities in their own right. In Cocona's case, they found it. For me, it's really just about blessing and supporting that decision as best as possible, because XG is not just about the artist. It's about this respect and ability for all of our members to love themselves in their truest form. After all this journey they experience, the fact that we're able to share this with the world is a very happy moment. It's really about the lives that we live and the lives that the members, the, the team, and everyone else are going to live. The company showcased this support by changing the meaning of XG from extraordinary girls to extraordinary genes. XGALX explained that the word genes represents the power and creativity that reside within our core, as well as the spirit of continuously creating new culture without being bound by conventional norms. So, through Kokona's growth, through her transition, now Kokona has uh, really been a shining example. Well, her transition um, was an example, and okay, not just that, but also how it was received and shared with the world is an example of how much they've grown and how supportive they are of Kokona through her growth. And what I love so much about this whole section of the interview is that they were all there for Kokona, and they were able to support them and be there for them and continue to uh, walk this journey with them and share that with the world. Um, Growing up, me, um, I grew up in a very conservative home, and I wasn't really privy to uh, the understandings of when people grow and search for their identity and search for who they are, um, you know, how to receive it and how to respect it. And, I just kind of took things earnestly as it came along. And I observed, along the way, there wasn't, you know, depending on the environment that you grow in, you may not get this kind of support. You may not get this kind of love, and you may not get this kind of openness to understanding who you are. So, seeing what I've seen growing up, seeing how, you know, there have been environments where people would not be understanding, people would be fearing and criticizing the, this type of growth. and it's really terrible. And uh, looking at the here and now, to have a team and have a leader like Simon that's so supportive and so loving, I think that it's an example that everyone really should be looking at and following. Um, we really need to love each other, everyone. We need to love each other and look at each other as human beings, period. Um, and I feel like this whole phase of XG's growth and evolution is something that should be shared with everyone in the world because a lot of people need a lot of love right now. And, you know, the things that I see on the news, it's so hard for me to just scroll down social media, just a lot of bad things happening due to misunderstanding, lack of communication, lack of openness. And yet here you are looking at XG as a group and as a family, open and comfortable communicating everything and anything that's happening in their world, being supportive of one another. And not only that, they're not gatekeeping this, they're sharing this with the world. They're saying, hey, look, you know, um, we've known each other for this long. We have this amount of trust. And through thick and thin, through evolution, through all the challenges we've faced, and through all the growth we've experienced, we are going to be there for each other. And that is a really special thing. If realistically they're going to know each other for the rest of their lives, for any one given person, they're lucky if they can have one person in their life that loves them to the degree that XG loves each other, whether it's a mentor or a friend or family member. And yes, I'm even calling out families because these days, um, you can have a situation where your friends are closer than your family. So I really thought this was so touching. This is probably the most touching part of the interview. So every time I read about it and see it visually, because they've talked about it openly now, I really, really respect them so much for that. And I, you know, I I want to give Cocona a hug and thank them for showing their confidence and bravery and being an example for anyone who has a hard time uh, finding their voice and communicating who they are and not loving themselves to the way that they should. A lot of people should really give themselves a pat on the back and appreciate, um, the things. I mean, really acknowledge uh, all the blessings and how loved they truly are. So yeah, I kind of went in a certain direction, but every time they talk about this very human side of their growth and evolution, it really, touches me here. So yeah, good going. Thank you for sharing that again. Well, leading into that, um, Simon talks about their global plans. So, yeah, let's get back to the interview. He's excited for the group's plans for this year, calling it a big year for XG. He acknowledges that the members have grown and matured greatly since their debut and have received the global recognition that they've worked so hard to obtain. He's now focused on a new challenge with plans to move to the US to work on music that resonates with Western audiences worldwide. As the birthplace of pop music, the US has become the gold standard in regards to management, A&R capabilities, management skills and systems, and promotions. I really want to lean into that and learn from that, he explains. Then take XPop, which we've made, and integrate this attitude, culture, and these vibes that we've created, and focus more on those sets of values and take that to challenge the new American market. As a company, we're going to evolve a lot. It's time for a new chapter and challenge going forward, including XG and their next evolution and how we approach and look at North America. So he's going in, he's diving right into the American market. He's taking this culture that he's created with XG, XPop, and their story and they're bringing it to the American market. To what extent and to what degree and how, we don't know yet, but I'm actually surprised that he is. I'm surprised that I'm not. It's just strange to read it and hear him say that they're gonna move to the United States. When they say they're going to move, does it mean he is? And how much of the team and who else is coming with him and where? Um, my assumption would definitely be either New York or LA, and then possibly Atlanta. This might have been why they put out this wide net for their job interviews. I applied, but haven't gotten anything yet. But it's going to be very telling if all of that leads into this connection of branching out to the United States. And I'm very curious to see what that means for the future of the company. They did say that they're going to debut a new group. They been training people in the US, or is this going to be trainees that came out of their program back in Asia that they're going to bring over to the US? We don't know a lot of the behind the scenes, so they may have been cooking and already been developing trainees that are on this side of the world. So I'm very excited to see that. And everything that I talked about up to this point, from XPop to Cocona to their philosophy, I hope, well, no, I firmly believe that they have culture that can positively benefit the North American music scene. I don't know the North American music scene, but time and again, through a handful of other artists throughout the decades, we know that a lot of things are commanded by the dollar bill. And that means in the US market sense, heck yeah, we're following trends. If this type of music is popular, we're gonna put out 10 hits and make a whole album out of it. Simon has a challenge to to if his challenge if if he's challenging the North American market and saying, "Hey, this is what we do, this is who we are, check it out and learn from it," I think artists will connect with it. And honestly, I bet artists will feel more empowered. I just wonder about the business side. I wonder who out there behind the scenes that are probably in a position comparable to Simon are going to say, "Hey, I like what this team has done. I like what he's done. I like the environment that he's created. I am inspired and I want to create an environment just like theirs. I want my artists to feel comfortable. I want my artists to be in a place that they can grow in the best way and in the way they want to grow." For sure, quietly, I'm sure those spaces exist in North America, but with the platform XG has and with the other artists that they are considered among, you would think that they're going to start, their eyes and example are going to start to grab the attention of notable people in the industry. Um, I don't remember word for word, but I just saw on my feed vaguely Prince, uh, rest in peace, Prince. He spoke vocally on either an interview or an award show about how the industry is dictated by accountants and lawyers. And at that time, he was making a commentary about, like what I had just talked about, everything is all about money. And it takes away from artist integrity, it takes away from artist vision. So I think, had Prince been around, had the King of Pop been around, a few others who are still with us today, I think that they will look at XG with definitely with a nod of approval. It would have been awesome to see the King of Pop or Prince collab with XG. That would have been amazing. So, okay, closing off this interview, he talks about two elements that keep the core together: trust and loyalty. The trust and loyalty that we have among each other forms this kind of energy, and it's the core source of what XG's strength and power is. Jacobs explains, we have 7 members, and each has their own identity, but there's a mutual respect when we form together as a unit. There's this absolute trust. Without it, we wouldn't have the power to do what we do or the culture that we built. It really comes down to this absolute trust that we have in each other, and it forms this very core energy that gives us strength. I mean, what more needs to be said about that? We started at the beginning. Simon is way more than just a producer. He's their mentor, he's their big brother, he's their father to some degree. Their bond is thicker than blood. And the only way you can create an environment that's comfortable enough where they can be their most authentic self and truest self is if you have utmost trust and utmost loyalty. Once you start to have mistrust, then that's going to lead to arguments. And I'm sure to some degree, at like a minimal level, they argue. And I'm sure that as they progress through their career, they've had their own growing pains and had big arguments down the road. I wanted to, see how. Lost my train of thought there. Um, I think that um, once you have trust and let me see. Once you have trust and loyalty, you have that. Only then can you have that environment where people can be their truest self. Because I've seen it in my own world. Um, my martial arts world is going through a transition. The pandemic hit us pretty bad, and we had a lot of mistrust within the upper ranks. A lot of my senior classmates butted heads, and some have left, unfortunately. So, what was once a shared dream among our group is no longer a shared dream. It's become fragmented. It's almost like Game of Thrones, to be honest, which is unfortunate. And I've done my best to be diplomatic and be peacemaker and be a bridge. And it hasn't. Nothing's a closed chapter, but I, I'm still having challenges there and hoping that things work themselves out with time. But looking at this again, trust and loyalty is everything. And hopefully, other companies, other CEOs, record producers can learn from that example and realize that if you can nurture those qualities within a team or a group or an artist, then you're going to be creating beautiful work, beautiful music, whatever lane you're in, not just the music industry, any industry. So, yeah, all in all, another meaningful, impactful interview. There is a podcast that Simon did with other topics that he covered that I will go over later this week. I'll probably cover it in the full transmission on Friday. And then I'll probably do the Zach Sang interview as one whole video episode. And scattered in between, there have been folks that have been asking me to react to other groups. I will get to those reactions as soon as possible. But if you stuck out this far, because I'm looking now and it's 33 minutes, good Lord. That was all straight from the heart. Okay. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to me yap, stumble, stutter, lose my train of thought, but still give my sincere thoughts on this interview. I love the core. I love XG. I love XGALX's team and what Simon has been doing. I respect Simon, and I thanked him before, and hopefully if I have a chance to see him during the Second World Tour, I'll thank him again. So until the next transmission, guys, you guys stay safe out there, stay warm, and we'll talk to you guys again on the next transmission.